Good morning, Gaijin Joe here. It's Monday, which means our weekend is over. That's unfortunate, but let's get this week underway. So today I want to talk to you about something, maybe you've heard about it, I'm sure you have, microplastics. It's been in the news a lot with regard to the damage it's doing to the environment, to the seas, to the creatures in the sea. But what you're not hearing a lot about is how it impacts us as people. Right? What does it do to us, to our bodies? And are we being subjected to microplastics in our everyday lives? And the answer to that is yes, we are. We absolutely are. So what do we do? Like, what are microplastics and where do they come from and how do they affect us? So a microplastic is any piece of plastic or fragment of plastic that is 5 millimeters or smaller in diameter. And there are two types of microplastics. There's primary and then there's secondary microplastics. Now I want you to listen to the definition of a primary microplastic because this was eye-opening for me. Primary microplastic is a tiny particle or tiny particles designed for commercial use. So let's just let that sink in. Designed for commercial use. These are microplastics that are intentionally being placed into the products that we are buying, we are consuming, we are using. Right? So this is most commonly makeup, it's clothing, it's fishing nets, and I don't fish. Maybe some of you out there do. So if you do, fishing nets, and those are primary microplastics. Then there's also secondary microplastics, and these are most commonly products, plastic products that break down into smaller pieces, and then they find their way into the ocean most commonly, and then the fish consume them, and then we consume the fish, and so now we've put these into our body. But it also land animals can consume these as well. So if you're a meat eater, if you eat beef, if you eat pork, if you eat lamb, then you may also be ingesting these microplastics. A study in Italy from 2020 actually found a large number of microplastics in everyday fruits and vegetables. So we are kind of being bombarded, right? And how do we get these microplastics into our body? Inhalation, consumption, and touch. And it's, to me, it's kind of like everywhere. That's everywhere. Everything that you touch, the medicine, your food, drinking water, water treatment facilities do not currently have the ability to remove all of the microplastics from the water. So that means the water that you're drinking, the water that you're bathing in, the water that you're feeding your pets, cleaning your house with, those all have microplastics in them. And let's just zip right back to like middle school science class, okay? Because I remember this lesson when I taught my son about biodegradable, and the example that we used was if you put a lawn chair into a landfill in 100 years or 1,000 years, guess what's still going to be in that landfill? That lawn chair. Might be in smaller pieces, like broken apart, but it's still going to be there. That it does not biodegrade. So, and the UN is aware of this issue. They're aware of the problems. They're aware of the need to regulate it. In 2017, they had a resolution where they actually discussed the need to regulate microplastics being released into the environment. There are a lot of really good sources for this. If you just look, it's not being covered by the media a lot. I'm not going to go into the conspiracy rabbit hole about why they're not talking about it. So I don't know. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to tell you that microplastics are out there and they have real health concerns for us. And some of those are, they contain toxins that damage human lung cells, which puts us at risk for COPD, for pulmonary diseases. It interferes with the regulation and production of our hormones. So now we're looking at endocrine disorders, reproductive disorders, developmental delays. These are all detailed in multiple government-funded research that you can find if you just look for it. Now I'm going to post these links on my website, empoweredessentials.net, so you can go do the research for yourself, and I encourage you to do that. But these are everywhere, and they have real health concerns for us. We need to know what we're putting into our bodies, what's around our bodies, and what we're subjecting our children to as well. So, that's what they are, how we get to them, and what they can do to us. And those are just some of the health concerns. There are so many more. So how do we fight it? How do we combat this, right? What are we going to do? Well, that's my next video, because I don't want this to turn into a 10-minute video. All I wanted to do, excuse me, now was just to introduce microplastics, explain what they were, and some of the health consequences that can come from exposure to microplastics and where you can come into contact with them. I put makeup on this morning, which means I microplasticed my face. I drank from a plastic water bottle. So, I washed my face with tap water last night. It's literally everywhere you go. You can't get away from it. So I'm going to post these links on my website, and you can go and do the research and look yourself, and I hope that you do. And a spoiler for my next video, some of the things that you can do to combat this is going to be lifestyle changes, habit changes, and some oils that will help break down those microplastics once they're in your body. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you very soon.